Hey, what's up? It's your boy thedallaswade, and welcome back to another Big Facts worship service. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and bop that little like button and slap that notification bell, or else I'm gonna be big mad. No cap, let's go, boy!
Today I am finna be looking at some Christian talk or YouTube shorts, but high-key they the same really. No cap.
Bro, let's get straight to it. On my mama, we lit.
Oh my gosh, this is exhausting. I cannot do this. I can't keep up with this level of energy. This is just way too much for me. Jesus Christ. Let's turn off that music. Yeah, let's get some lo-fi music playing. Yeah. Now let's fix this aspect ratio. Let's get back to that 16:9 aspect ratio. I can't do any more of this portrait stuff. This is just way too restricting. I don't know how people do this. Recently, I discovered a Christian content creator named Barret Bogan. Bogan has about 2,400 followers on TikTok and over 11,000 subscribers on YouTube. Bogan used to make YouTube videos that were anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes long, but for the most part, Bogan exclusively makes TikTok videos and YouTube shorts now, which I guess makes sense because his YouTube shorts tend to get 4 times as many views as his longer videos did, and they only require a fraction of the time and effort to produce. Now, I am not interested in responding to Bogan's dance videos or his funny haha picture reaction videos, but there are a few videos that Bogan has where he claims to have evidence for the Bible, and that's what I want to look at.
I'm about to prove to you that you can trust the Bible. These facts about the Bible are about to blow your mind.
Blow my mind, Barret. Blow my mind.
Did you know that we have over 24,000 copies of the Bible, ancient manuscripts, that were written in just the 1st century alone?
Okay, so this is just blatantly not true. I don't know where Bogan is getting this information from, but it's not true. According to the Institute for New Testament Textual Research, we have 4 manuscripts from the 2nd century, 0 from the 1st century. And those manuscripts are not entire books. Those manuscripts are fragments. Collectively, between those 4 manuscripts, they contain 42 verses. That's 42 verses from the 2nd century. Again, 0 from the 1st century. And even in the 3rd and 4th century, we only have roughly 100 manuscripts. And again, these manuscripts are not entire books, they are only fragments. We do have thousands of manuscripts from the New Testament, but 0 of them come from the 1st century. 4 of them come from the 2nd century, 100 of them come from the 3rd and 4th century. The overwhelming majority of them come after the 4th century, and most of those, the overwhelming majority of those, come after the 9th century. So most of what we do have when it comes to New Testament manuscripts is copies of copies of copies of copies of copies of the originals, hundreds of years after the originals were written. We don't even have the originals. We don't even have copies that were close to the originals. We don't even know what the originals said. And just to be clear, this is not some fringe atheist belief. This is the consensus of New Testament scholars, most of which are Christians. So to say that we have 24,000 New Testament manuscripts from the 1st century alone is embarrassingly ignorant. Like, you couldn't be more wrong. No cap.
There's nobody out there questioning Plato and his writings, but we only have 7 manuscripts. Only 10 manuscripts from Caesar. Homer's Iliad, we only have 643. The entire New Testament was finished writing before the 1st century was over.
I could write a fictional story, and I could print millions of copies of it, but would that make it any more true? No, it wouldn't. So I don't know why this is even used as an argument. Bogan is arguing here that the New Testament is more reliable than the Iliad simply because it has more copies than the Iliad. But let's say that hypothetically the Iliad did have more copies than the New Testament. If that was the case, would you be inclined to believe in Zeus and Aphrodite? I highly doubt it. Even if we had tons of manuscripts of the New Testament from the 1st century, that wouldn't make the theology and the doctrine of the Bible any more true. The funny thing, though, is that we don't have tons of New Testament manuscripts from the 1st century, or even from the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th century. So this argument falls apart before it can even get started.
From Jesus dying in 30 AD to the end of the century, that's about 70 years, and we have 0 writings contradicting the resurrection of Jesus or anything from Scripture. Are you kidding me? Nobody alive for 70 years contradicted that happened? Come on, people. There are 0 ancient documents from the 1st century that contest the New Testament's purity.
I honestly don't understand the thinking behind this argument, the logic of this argument, and I don't think I've ever heard this one before, so congrats for that, Bogart. Bogart? Oh, I think it's Bogan, right? Bogan? Barret Bogan? Yeah. Barret Bogan. There are no historical documents from the 1st century contesting the New Testament because there was no New Testament in the 1st century. Even if the original manuscripts of the New Testament were written in the 1st century, which I think they most likely were, most scholars place them towards the end of the 1st century, they would not have been widespread enough for most people to even be aware of them, much less for anyone to write any documents contesting the beliefs of such a fringe religion. And there are no documents from the 1st century contradicting the events of the New Testament, because how could there be? What would you expect? If the New Testament didn't happen, what would you expect historians to be writing about? Would you expect historians to be writing books about how King Herod didn't slaughter the innocent? Or would you expect them to be writing books about how Jewish zombies didn't rise from their graves and go to Jerusalem and socialize with all the people? If the events of the New Testament didn't happen, we wouldn't expect historians to write books contradicting them. We would just expect historians to not write about them. And that's exactly what we see. Historians didn't write about these things. Historians didn't write about King Herod slaughtering the innocents. And historians definitely did not ever write about Jewish zombies coming from their tombs and socializing with all of the people of Jerusalem.
The Bible is pure. It's true. It really happened. You can take that to the eternal bank.
No, it's not, and you failed to prove otherwise.
Did you know that there are ancient texts and manuscripts that have nothing to do with the Bible that actually prove that the Bible is true?
No, I didn't know that, but I have heard a lot of Christians try and fail to argue that point, but maybe you'll do better than they did. Let's hope so.
Prove these historical facts from Scripture? Check this out. Thallus, circa AD 52, about the eclipse of the sun. On the whole world there pressed a most fearful darkness, and the rocks were rent by an earthquake, and many places in Judea and other districts were thrown down. This darkness, reports Thallus in the 3rd book of his history, recalls, quote, as appeared to me without reason an eclipse of the sun. What does that describe? Luke 23, verses 44 through 45. And it was now about the 6th hour, and darkness fell over the whole land until the 9th hour, the sun being obscured, and the veil of the temple was torn in two.
So unfortunately, we don't have Thallus's original book. All we have is George Sincelius's book Chronicle from the year 800, in which he references Julius Africanus's book A History of the World from the 3rd century, in which he references Thallus saying that there was an eclipse and an earthquake that happened at the same time. So we don't have Thallus's original book, and we don't have Julius Africanus's book in which he mentions Thallus's book. All we have is George Sincelius's book in which he mentions Julius Africanus's book in which he mentions Thallus's book. So what we have is a 9th century book mentioning that a 3rd century book mentioned something that a 1st century book said. So we are now 800 years and 3 parties removed from the original book of Thallus. So this is not the most reliable evidence in the world. But even if we do ignore all of that, I still don't think this is a very good piece of evidence for the Bible. I don't think this would be proof of the Bible, even if we had Thallus' original writing. It would be cool if there was a solar eclipse and earthquake that did happen at the same time, but that's not really miraculous. Solar eclipses and earthquakes are naturally occurring events that happen very frequently. It's almost inevitable that at some point they would happen at the same time. And even if this did happen in the 1st century and someone recorded it, I don't think that's proof of the Gospels. Because in the Gospel stories, when those things happened, there were also Jewish zombies coming from their tombs and socializing with the people of Jerusalem. I'm pretty sure if there was a historian writing at that time about those events, they would be writing about the zombies more so than they would be writing about a solar eclipse and an earthquake. So if Thallus really was recording the events described in the Gospels, then he should have said something about the zombies. But George Sincilius never said that Julius Africanus ever said that Thallus said anything about zombies, so I don't think that Thallus was recording the Gospel events.
Luke 23, verses 44 through 45. And it was now about the 6th hour, and darkness fell over the whole land until the 9th hour, the sun being obscured, and the veil of the temple was torn in two.
You left out the part about the Jewish zombies. Matthew 27:51 through 54 says, "At that moment the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and the tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of their tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. When the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and all that had happened, they were terrified, and they exclaimed, 'Surely he was the Son of God.'" Christians like to forget about the Jewish zombies, but I never will.
That happened right after Jesus died on the cross. And we have manuscripts, not from the Bible, that prove it.
No, you don't. And once again, you failed to prove that the Bible is true.
Did you know that the Bible has over 100 prophecies concerning the life of Jesus?
Well, did you know that there is no evidence outside of the Bible of Jesus ever fulfilling any prophecies? And did you know that most of the prophecies that Christians and the New Testament claim that Jesus fulfilled weren't even prophecies to begin with?
And they were written thousands of years before he came? Did you also know that Jesus fulfilled all of them? All of them?
I am familiar with most of the alleged messianic prophecies in the Old Testament, but it would be really nice if you could at least mention one of them so I don't have to do all of your work for you.
His life and his death and his resurrection, there are 0 ancient manuscripts that contest this fact.
Again, Bogan is making his trademark argument that there are no documents of antiquity that contest the New Testament. This is such a stupid argument. I can't stress that enough. If Jesus never fulfilled any prophecies, we would not expect to see historians writing about how he didn't fulfill them. We would just expect historians to not mention anything about them because there would be nothing for them to mention. And that's exactly what we see. We don't see historians writing about Jesus fulfilling prophecies. We only ever see anything about Jesus fulfilling prophecies, and the prophecies that Jesus supposedly fulfilled were also prophecies that were only ever mentioned in the Bible, not outside of it. So this is not amazing at all. You have prophecies from the Bible being fulfilled in the Bible with no external corroboration. This is no more amazing than Harry Potter fulfilling prophecies in Harry Potter or Star Wars characters fulfilling prophecies in Star Wars. This is not amazing. This is not miraculous.
What are the odds?
What are the odds?
The odds of Jesus fulfilling prophecies in the New Testament is actually very high because the New Testament is a work of fiction and forgery. The New Testament writers were more than happy to have Jesus do and say whatever they wanted him to do and say and fulfill whatever prophecies they wanted him to fulfill, whether they were prophecies or not. For example, Micah 5 prophesies that a great warrior and leader, not a god or son of a god, would be born of the tribe of Bethlehem Ephrathah, and that he would raise a sword and fight against the invading Assyrians, alongside 8 commanders. Jesus was not any of those things, and the New Testament authors didn't want him to be, but they did want him to fulfill those prophecies, so they had him be born in the town of Bethlehem and pretend that was prophetic fulfillment. But Jesus did not fulfill what those prophecies were actually prophesying. The New Testament also likes to have Jesus fulfill prophecies that weren't even prophecies to begin with, like the entire chapter of Psalm 22. Verse 1 says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And it goes on to describe being lowly and in pain and despised and mocked by the world. This wasn't a prophecy of Jesus though, this was just David talking about himself. The same is true of Psalm 34:20, Zechariah 12:10, and dozens more Old Testament scriptures. These Old Testament verses were never intended to be prophecies, and if you actually read them in context, they are usually referring to a very specific person in a very specific place in a very specific time. I could spend a lot more time talking about these supposed prophecies in the Bible, but I've already done more work than Bogan did, so I think it's time to move on. Well, unfortunately, Barret Bogan did not have any good evidence for the Bible, but it was a lot of fun getting into these subjects. Maybe you learned something, maybe I learned something along the way. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do want to see me respond to more Christian TikTokers, then let me know in the comments down below. It was a lot of fun getting into some new territory. Usually I respond to YouTube Christians or Facebook Christians, so it was kind of cool getting into a new medium. I don't think I'm going to become a TikToker, but I did create a TikTok for this video, and if you want to follow me on TikTok, you can go do that. I don't know if I'll ever post another video, but who knows? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next worship service. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Also subscribe and activate that little bell icon if you haven't already. Go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook if you'd like to keep up with me behind the scenes. And if you'd like to help support what I do, you can pledge to my Patreon or leave me a tip on Cashapp. Links and information for all of that stuff is in the description down below. Thank you for all of your support, and I'll see you in the next worship service.
Last night in my dreams, walking the streets with some